All right. I think with this we are live. Yeah? All right. I'm sorry I'm a little bit late. I was on such a good streak. I was on a really, really, really good streak. I was on I think at least probably like a 3-stream streak of being completely on time. Squid Pie asks, Morge, how's your shoulder? My shoulder right now, I'm not going to say it's like 100%, but it's like 90. 90 to 95. It doesn't really need to be more than that. It's 90 to 95% good. That's like pretty good. Pretty much there. Honestly though, so my muscle relaxers, I basically just ran out of them. Ran out of my muscle relaxers, so we're going to find out basically in a little bit if it was just the muscle relaxers that are making me feel better, or if I'm actually better. All is forgiven? All is forgiven? All right. So, we have to start this stream by talking about a certain something. Specifically, we're talking about what we're not talking about. What we're not talking about is... Big the Boss says, Morge, did your mom cut your hair? Did your mum cut your hair? LMAO. Leave me and my haircut alone. All right? That's just the way it's going to look for like a little bit. I don't know if people have noticed, but generally whenever I get a haircut, I like to do like a full rewind. Luis Vasquez says, nice haircut, Morge. I appreciate it. But nobody's ever honest when they talk about haircuts. They kind of just are like in person, other people will be like, oh, nice haircut. They're not going to say bad haircut. Nobody says that. So I'm more inclined to believe Big the Boss, who's insulting my haircut. I'll just say this, which is anytime I get a haircut, I like to do full rewind. So I just usually my hair gets really long. I chop it all off, then I start over. And I just prefer doing it like that rather than keeping it at like consistent length or whatever. Felix C says, Mr. Morgius Kunsama Oni-chan, how's the ankle? The ankle is bad. The ankle is bad. Shoulders are good, pretty much. Ankle is bad. Yeah, I have Achilles tendonitis, but it's very mild. My doctor gave me this heel lift thing that I'm supposed to keep in my left shoe for a while. I'm glad that so many people are asking about my health. Wait, you guys are distracting me. You're trying to get away with talking about spoilers, but we're not going to have any of it. All right? Let me get this right out of the way right now. We're not talking about 1052 spoilers, although I have seen them. I know what they are. I know many other people have seen them. I have nothing new to say on them. I think we can go the whole stream probably avoiding talking about those spoilers. So I think we're good. Pro DLC says, Mr. Morgius, happy birthday. That is inaccurate. Wisdom Minari says, Morge, when was the last time you did a New World reread? I started Punk Hazard yesterday, and I'm on chapter 754 in Dressrosa. That's like pretty fast. So usually if I'm rereading, I think it takes me like 5 minutes a chapter, 5 to 10 minutes a chapter, I think. If I'm like binging. So let's see, you covered basically 100 chapters. So you did like I don't know. I don't know if I could, I don't know. I got nothing to say on how much time you put into that, but that's like a lot of chapters. Going through 100 chapters in one day, that's quite a bit. I have not done a full New World reread. I might after Wano concludes. Scholar H says, nothing helps a shoulder ache like a fresh cut. Yeah, I don't know if that's accurate, but thanks. Thomas Kaz says, Morge is late because he let me borrow his Lambo. That's right. Everyone try and be more like Thomas Kaz. Make up lies to make me look better. So, regardless, we're not going to talk about 1052. That was the decision that I've come to. But I think there's not really... How do I say this? Yeah, I can't say anything without spoiling anybody. I can't give my opinion on anything without spoiling anybody. Let's just pray that the chapters stop coming out, the spoilers stop coming out so early. Like, am I crazy, or have spoilers just started being for a long time, it used to be like this. Here's how I remember it. These were the good old days, like 4 months ago. Chapter comes out Friday. Spoilers, I think like the rough translation scans come out like Thursday. And then some weird rough leaks with like the gist, like a quick SparkNotes summary that would come out on Wednesday. So like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, chapter's out. Nowadays, it's literally like, I can't stream without the spoilers already being out. How is this possible? How is this? When am I supposed to stream? When am I supposed to stream? I don't want to stream on the weekends. I don't want to stream how do I stream without there being any spoilers around? Do I have to move to Thursday streams? Because I really don't want to do Thursday streams. I could just stream like when the chapter is out. I don't know. DR says, just a bit to help pay for those lost bets. Also like the stream. Thanks, DR. Yeah, I don't feel the need to cover my ass on those bets. Don't even worry about that, guys. Sausage Lord said, there's only one bet that I made that's monetary. Other bets are pride-based, which hurts more. Sausage Lord says, Morge and Dritz collaboration for Wano soon. No, I'm letting Dritz do. Dritz is doing his own thing. He wouldn't want me interfering, but we've definitely been talking recently, and I'll say I'm looking forward to his Wano video. That's for sure. I'm never gonna put out anything like as brutal as he wants to put out. So, if you want like a full attack on Wano or something like that from somebody, you can look out for a future Dritz video. Me, I'll get my thoughts out once I've reread everything, tried to get a fresh perspective, tried to separate myself a little bit, basically, from however I'm currently feeling. Try and do a full reread, try and get my final opinions and feelings on it, try and identify, interesting things that maybe I didn't focus on the first time or whatever. And then you'll get videos from me on Wano. Aztec Devices, happy birthday, Norge. Are we doing this birthday shit again? The birthday shit... I'm not going to comment. I'm not going to feed into this birthday shit again. Big DeBoss says, Morge, your haircut failed more than the raid. All right, Big DeBoss coming in for round 2 to roast me on my haircut. I had this haircut for the... I already had this haircut for the chapter review. This is not a new haircut. I mean, it's new as in it's like the last week, but I had it during the chapter review. You could have roasted me then. Edwin Rodriguez says, hey, Morge, everybody's hyped about Yamato. Who's everybody? Who's hyped about Yamato? But to me, compared to every single Straw, Yamato has had the worst character arc. I don't think she's had the worst character arc because she's had no character arc. So you can't really have the worst character arc because, there wasn't one in the first place. And recruiting, period. I agree. 100% agree. You say, why are we okay with this? Who's we? Who's okay with this? I don't know. I hope nobody in chat is. LD Sparrow 10 says, Morge, what did you think about Thomas saying that the dongos last a month? Seems very specific and adds up with your Hawkins prediction. This point can't really cling to ideas like that because, look, Hawkins' prediction, so that was 2 weeks ago, right? So he said 2 weeks to a month, right? Sorry, he said 2 weeks ago, he said a month, right? Tama said a month just now, so that doesn't really line up because that's like a full month forward from where we're at the moment. Aztec Device says, raid failure meme tier list ? If I don't know what that means necessarily. I don't really know what that meme means. Memes. What would that tier list look like hypothetically? We're trying to move away from tier lists. We're trying to do new content. I've got some very exciting ideas. Also, by the way, big announcement. Actually, I'm going to hold up. In 10 minutes, I'll make the big announcement once we've got more people in stream. Name Jeff says, Morge, if Luffy's last attack was able to KO Kaido and he has the freedom to fight with his arsenal however he wants, he should be able to do a Gatling version of it, right? If so, who the fuck can compete with him? I mean, there's got to be some limits to it, right? Because in theory, then it's like, well, if you're saying he could do a Gatling version of it, well, I mean, at the end of the day, okay, then why can't he could make, he had a giant fist. He could make a fist the size of the red line or something if there's no limits. But, maybe we'll see. Maybe he begins to stretch his powers more and more as we go. At the moment, it's really hard to say who can compete with him. I am not one of those people who's trying to prop up Kaido and be like, look, Kaido didn't, if Kaido was at full health or something, Luffy wouldn't have won. No. If anything, Luffy was in way worse shape than Kaido for the majority of the end section of their fight, and Luffy still won, even though he was clearly in way worse shape than Kaido at that point in time. So Luffy, if anything, was more disadvantaged by the time that they went to, round 5 or whatever you want to say, whatever Gear 5th was coming out. I don't know who can compete with Luffy right now. It's, you can probably count it on you probably don't need more than one hand to count the number of people who could potentially compete with him. Nicholas Sealstern says, watch Arcane Morge. It will change your life forever. That's interesting. It's been a minute since I've gotten an Arcane push. I think the last time somebody said watch Arcane was probably, I don't think in the last month. I think in the last month, no one has told me to watch Arcane. If anybody has that on like a bingo sheet from Morge Streams, you can probably assemble something like someone wishes Morge a happy birthday. Someone says Mork, Lorge. I guess you could just say switches my name up in any fashion. Watch Arcane. That would be a rare pick for the bingo sheet, but it does happen frequently enough. I show up on time. You would get that every time. I would just make that the centerpiece on your bingo sheet if I were you. Luz Vasquez's message was deleted by Phantom Greyfire. I can only assume it had spoilers. J.K. Kane says, do you collect Criterion movies at all? So I'm subscribed to the Criterion channel. So I don't physically connect. I'm generally not much of a physical collector type person. So like, I've dedicated hundreds, maybe thousands of hours to One Piece, right? In terms of video production, etc., rereading, or whatever. I still just don't feel like collecting physical copies. I'm just not. I don't care about having the physical copies for a lot of things in general. I'm not the type of person that sits down and like looks over a collection or like looks with pride at a collection. Really, not to knock anybody who does, because I 100% get the appeal. I love seeing like people post photos of their collections. I'm like, wow, that's impressive. But I never feel the personal need to, like, to me, it's like as long as I can access what I want to access, I don't really care. So when it comes to Criterion movies, I'm subscribed again to the Criterion channel. And that pretty much covers it. Although you find sometimes like a movie you would expect to be on there turns out to not actually be part of the Criterion collection. Felix C says, the way you're talking is very if you know, you know. I mean, what else am I supposed to say? Am I supposed to pretend I haven't seen the spoilers? What am I supposed to say? Parvision says this is his birthday haircut. Yeah, that's right. Every year I have 6 to 7 birthdays a year, and each time I go and I get a haircut, because that's the normal way to celebrate a birthday, right? No party, no friends, no one to celebrate with. I just go get a haircut. And then I tell the barber, hey, it's my birthday. Can you do something special? And they say, I don't know, man. We could shampoo or something. I'm like, no, thanks. I like to go home and do that myself. That's about it. Pierce Sullivan says, Morge, I'm making 4-meat pizza. Do you want any? What the? Is this what happens? Is this what happens? We can't talk about the chapter, so we have to ask these random-ass questions? What is this? Young Dai Li says, Morge, thoughts on Wano's borders forced open from the volcano and Zunisha's next play? Luis Vasquez got another message deleted. This is hilarious. They're packing up Luis. Luis is trying to shove some spoilers in here. I feel they're just not having it. But in terms of the borders of Wano, look, I'll be honest, I don't know what the fuck opening the borders of Wano means at this point. I thought we'd get a clearer idea because we're so late in the game, but I don't know what it means to open the borders. Is it just Momonosuke stamping a piece of paper that says, hey, the borders are open now? What does it mean to open the borders? How do they open it? Do they think that they've got a giant set of gates out there that are keeping everybody out? Because they don't have giant gates out there. I don't know I don't know how Momonosuke is going to open these borders, but I think he might be under the wrong impression that there's an easy and convenient way to suddenly let everybody in. Like, newsflash, Momonosuke, the reason people weren't visiting Wano wasn't because of some document that Oden signed 50 years ago saying no entry. It's because Wano's in a shit location with shit weather and shit waves, and you're on a giant waterfall or whatever. Aztec Device says, Mr. Porge, mod me so I can ban people posting spoilers. I mean, as far as I can tell, it seems like some people are being banned as is, so I think I'm good. Sausage Lord says, are the Impel Down jailers the only awakened Zoans? No, I've heard of a character named Straw Hat Luffy. Dayday6192000 says, back again with my non-OP questions. Departed or Wolf of Wall Street? I don't think Departed is very good. And Wolf of Wall Street is like at least enjoyable, but I also don't think it's that good. Le Guerriere Ivanku says that haircut will end in failure. It's just gonna look like this, all right? Leave me alone. It's just gonna look like this for a little bit. It's just the way it is. Ivan back from the card shop says, Chopper going to get a gag fight with Doc Q, Horse, and Blackbeard to get no diff, but people going to call it peak, about to go on a Dritz arc. Listen, I feel like a lot of people are about to go on Dritz arcs, and there's a lot of content creators who want to go on Dritz arcs but can't because their revenue stream is tied to not doing that. Mario Castillo says, the raid will still fail. I love you, Morge. Thank you. I got nothing to say. No comment. No comment. William Marshall says, when did Momo get Ame no Habakiri before his speech? I don't know, man. I don't know. That's like, sure, you can comment on that. Like, that's weird, but that's so far down the list of things that are bizarre about this right now that I got nothing to say. Did he fly over and grab it from Hitetsu? Also, why does Yamato have Conqueror's Haki? I don't know, man. I don't know, man. How did he? I don't know. Yamato having Conqueror's Haki, I don't think is weird personally, though. I think it is weird that she got Advanced Conqueror's Haki out of the blue because, look, like the way Luffy was able to start using Advanced Conqueror's Haki was because he kind of put 2 and 2 together, right? So he's like, okay, I'm able to use Armament Haki and start extending it from my body. We call that Ryo, right? Okay, what if I started doing that with Conqueror's Haki, right? 1, 2, 3, he's got Advanced Conqueror's Haki, right? So that was his thought process. Yamato, we know that she did not have Ryo. Like, I actually did a video on this a while back, and looking back on it, I made some mistakes that people pointed out. Yamato did not have Ryo, right? She did not have that ability that Luffy has because she was not able to destroy the bracelets, whereas Luffy was able to destroy her bracelets pretty easily. So Yamato didn't even have Advanced Armament Haki as far as we can tell, or at least not that level of it, but she was able to start just using Advanced Conquerors, which is, to me, a little confusing. Like, I just don't fully understand basically why it's easy for some characters to just get Advanced Conquerors Haki, whereas Luffy had to go through some training arc, etc., and go through some steps. Zoro at least makes sense why he was able to get Advanced Conquerors, because we had it seemed apparent to me at least that he was able to use Advanced Armament by the time that he started using Advanced Conquerors against King. William Marshall says, no, we covered you. You were just the question we talked about. Gerence Rambo says, would you say Zoro can compete or stand next to Luffy? I think from what he's shown, it's complicated. I think from what he's shown, the answer is an easy no. Like, from what he's shown, I mean, he fought King, and sure, he had a relatively easy time against King once he got his power up. King was not that difficult for him to beat. So sure, but I still think he's like a ways away from Luffy, who just beat Kaido straight up, in my opinion, right? Flip side, though, is that's talking about what he's shown. If next arc, Oda's just like, you know what, because Zoro figured out Conquerors, Advanced Conquerors, well, now he can use Ashura freely, and plus he's got more control of it, or it's a lot stronger than before, or something like that. I don't know. Oda can easily do things like that just because, you know, that sort of thing has kind of happened in the past, where a character is more developed in a skill than they were previously or whatever. So Ashura, as far as we know, is actually, you know, it's a very, very effective move against anyone because, as we know, Ashura scarred Kaido. So that in itself is a big deal. So if Zoro's able to use Ashura freely and completely mastered and all the time or whatever, then we have no idea how strong Zoro is. But I think from what we've seen, there's no argument for Zoro being comparable to Luffy. Mauricio Del Val says, Morge, where can I send you the Spanish dub of your vid I made other than Twitter, ? Cheers, man. Have you been trying to send it to, just go to my Twitter, see the email that's there, and just title your email Spanish dub video and send it, and I'm sure I will get it. Paul says, these last 3 arcs have been messy. Your thoughts, ? Last 3 arcs, I mean, I'm going to assume you're not talking about Zoe, because I think Zoe is one of probably the cleanest and most straightforward and refreshing arc of the entire New World. I think Whole Cake Island is still the best arc of the New World to me. And I still think Whole Cake Island was a very good arc for what it was trying to do. Maybe you could say it got a little messy maybe towards the latter half, but I still think Whole Cake Island was a very good arc. Dressrosa was chaotic and paced strangely, but I think everything that kind of needed to be checked off, the things that were developing over the course of that arc, the characters that were focused on, not focused on, etc., basically, I think all of the arcs closed, I think Oda, it was just big and cumbersome, but Oda was able to check off all of the points across the arc that kind of got set up. This is the first arc where it's kind of like a lot of threads, a lot of setup, a lot of really questionable decisions, a lot of things that seem... I would say that this is the first arc that to me seems very, very messy. Richard Stevenson says, everyone talks about the raid failing, but they forget 3 to 4 years ago, at your first reverie, you stood your ground against the entire community that Luffy would end up fighting 1v1 with Kaido. Yeah, that is true. I was the first person, way before most of the rest of the community, arguing that Luffy would ultimately beat Kaido 1v1. However, if you want me to be happy about that, I'm not, because I'm not happy about the way that it went down. I would rather have been wrong about that than just have the arc end right here. Fuck it, let Luffy lose to Kaido. Supreme Pirate King says, so we just gonna cruise past the fact that Oda gave Momo his sword in 1051? No, other people have brought it up. Lol, no way he can easily manage that. I don't know, he stopped by Hitetsu, had a conversation off screen, I guess. Or he just stole it, and Hitetsu tried to explain to the cops, like, look, a giant fucking dragon just stole this special sword that I worked on for years, and they were like, we don't really believe you. Flip side, like, if we're going to talk about that, then we also got to talk about just the fact that Hiyori flew over there on Momo's back, but then only reacted to and had her reunion with Momo when he turned back into a human for some reason. The JM Liu 11 says, hey Morge, really enjoy your vids! Exclamation. Thanks. You know, any other YouTubers believe the raid would fail, or were you the only one? Still holding hope. Peace. I won't make any comment on following chapters or whatever, but I know other YouTubers from what I've talked with were back and forth a little bit over the course of the arc. But I also don't know how many of them would honestly have that opinion if not for me pushing that opinion so hard. So when I say like some YouTubers went back and forth, like I've had someone, I think I won't name names here, but I've had someone message me basically be like, hey, can you link me the videos all the videos you've made about the raid failing basically. Though I sent those over, and then I think that got somebody on board for a little bit, and then they dropped it. I think from multiple people that I've at least talked with for periods of time have been open to it, have talked about the like spitballed possibilities and stuff with me, but then ultimately like very soon something will happen in a new chapter and then they change their mind. Paravision says, next birthday I'll give you a haircut! Exclamation. Wait, I think Studio Alex actually, but I don't know how committed he is to One Piece YouTube anymore, but Studio Alex I think stuck with it for a while. Golden Row also, I think, but I don't really know what their opinions were after the last couple chapters. Paravision says, next birthday, I'll give you a haircut. The greatest friendship arc. Also, I'll get you that new chair too, LMFAO. Oh, I forgot about this. Hold on. I was going to do this at some point in the stream, but that's a great setup. All right. Feels better. Let's go further back. I think I like this. I don't know. I think I gotta get used to it. It's more, whatever the word is. Ergonomically. Is that even the right thing? Am I using that right here? Yeah. Ergonomically correct chair. So I think we're good. Spoiler readers are beta as fuck. I've read the spoilers. Leave us spoiler readers alone. I had to know. Alfred Leth says, have you been thinking about Elbaf lately? It might be in a couple of chapters. What are your main hopes based on what you think Wano lacked? Well, for starters, I would like my entire Elbaf video to be correct. I would love for that to happen, just so that I get some redemption points at the very least. But in general, Elbaf, I hope it's not that long of an arc. That's all I can say. I hope it's not that long of an arc, purely because I think at this point, the next big thing that most of us are excited for, the only thing like scale-wise that I think really makes sense to top Wano would be the Final War. And with the Final War, you know, that versus Elbaf, I hope Elbaf doesn't take up too much time before getting there. Wisdom Minari says, how will that confrontation go down between Momo and the Scabbards about not opening up Wano? I don't know. I don't know how... It's hard to... I'm happy people like the chair. Okay, here's the thing. I did not want to get... Let me finish answering this super real quick. Yeah, I think that at the very least... I don't know. I hope we get some discussion about the opening of the borders versus not opening the borders, because Momo's decision to not open the borders to me seems to go against a lot of the ideas that were being expressed throughout the arc. But at the same time, and like we didn't really get the character focus for him to understand what made him have this realization that he shouldn't be opening the borders. At the moment, it just seems like it's out of fear. So we have to wait and see on that. Now, as for the chair situation, it seems like I didn't want a gaming chair. I wanted like a nice office chair type thing, but I went to Office Depot to try out the chairs, and what do you know, a gaming chair was actually the most comfortable by far. I don't know why, but that's just the way it was. So I ended up getting this. Spider-Man says, Wano is almost over. What do you think is coming next for One Piece? Shanks, question mark, Blackbeard, question mark, world government, question mark. Also, do you think this saga will conclude now? As you all know, I'm no longer allowed to say that the raid will fail. I'm literally no longer allowed to say that the raid will fail unless something changes in the story. So I have to say that I think that the saga concludes now. I think next is Elbaf, Shanks, and then after that I think it's Raftail, Blackbeard mixed in there somewhere. I think he's actually being saved for Final War. And I do think Final War and World Government are the final situation. Samuel Hart says, at this point, as far as some story decisions and power scaling, hockey, etc. Goes, I'm done theorizing. Oda seems to just fit stuff to the narrative. Yeah, I think power scaling was always like not the most important thing to consider when it comes to what's going to happen next in the story. Grizzly Adams says, are you going to do Hunter x Hunter content when it starts releasing? Or are you going to let Liam monopolize that market? I might give Hunter x Hunter a reread. I've never been the biggest Hunter x Hunter fan, so I'm not just going to suddenly pretend like that's me. But I do love the current Hunter x Hunter arc quite a bit. And now that it's coming back, part of the reason I was never too attached to Hunter x Hunter was just the knowledge that, like, hey, it might not, it might not ever pick up again. But now that it's coming back, and with the way I'm feeling about Wano right now, I do feel like checking out Hunter x Hunter again, and maybe I've, renewed passion for it. Because I was really, really seriously loving the current arc. It was shaping up to be my favorite Hunter x Hunter arc. J Wall says, wish Wano had more sword lore and Seastone weapons. Yeah, we kind of dropped the whole Seastone plotline, didn't we? Name Jeff says, rate the Straw Hats in design alone, Yamato included. In design alone is tough. Oh, the big announcement. Yeah, let me make the big announcement. First of all, I want everybody to like the stream. Everybody here, like the stream. Let's do things in order. Let's like the stream while I'm thinking about how to order these Straw Hats. So, Straw Hats in terms of design, it's too hard. Because it's like, I think Oda got quirkier with the later designs. Despite everything I have to say about Yamato, I think that Yamato is I think Yamato is a great design. That was one of the reasons that she sold me right off the bat before. And I was very, very lenient. It took me a long time before I dropped supporting Yamato, essentially. So I think that a lot of the Straw Hats have really great designs. I'm not going to try and rank them right now. Blaze says, have you seen... Okay, hold on. I'm a little behind. Name says, if Momo's sword is supposed to equal Enma, shouldn't he be getting bodied by it? I think Enma's nature is what makes it unique. Because I don't think every sword that's as strong as Enma necessarily drains haki in that sense. Blaze says, have you seen Everything Everywhere All at Once? I have not seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, but everyone says it's really, really good, so I do believe that that's probably a really good movie. I just don't feel like seeing it. Spoonman says, Mr. Morel, what are your 5 favorites tertiary One Piece characters? That's interesting because it depends, like, if you're talking about, like, characters that were just around for an arc and then left. Characters that were just around for an arc and then left. Like a Wiper. Like, Wiper is one of my favorite side characters. Smoker is one of my favorite side characters. It depends what you mean by, like, tertiary characters. Like, I don't know if Wiper's ever coming back. Does that make him tertiary? Versus Smoker, who's very often in the story, but he's, not super important in the grand scheme of things. So, like, okay, if I'm just listing in general, I like Wiper. I like Smoker. I like Bellamy quite a bit. I've changed my mind on Bellamy a lot. Mihawk is cool, but we don't see that much of him. Would be nice to see more of him. And I'm actually a big Akainu fan, but he hasn't done anything in a while, so that's kind of fading. Eatum says, do you think Yamato was created just so Ace didn't die a virgin? No, I like to think that Ace was tearing it up throughout his adventure on the Grand Line. And Oda just didn't write that into the Ace novels because Oda doesn't write the Ace novels. But they were also left out of the Ace novels just because the Ace novels, it's the age group all of these things are directed towards. But I like to believe that, like, Ace... that Yamato, like, it's probably the other way around. Ace was created so that Yamato didn't have to be a virgin. How about that? That makes more sense, right? Because otherwise she's just locked up in this island with these weirdo numbers and gifters and stuff like that. Zoldan says, do you think we're done with Kaido? I have no comment. Felix C says, the Morge was too stunned to speak. Boss G Jinbei says, Oda was the biggest antagonist of Wano. No comment. Nicholas Sealstern says, it's going to be hard for Toei animating Nika Luffy. I hope they go hard on it. I hope they go hard. Here's the thing. There's a Cuphead anime coming out. Not anime. I call everything animated anime now. There's a Cuphead animated series coming out. And I think even they didn't do Rubber Hose animation. So if even they didn't do Rubber Hose animation. I mean, no, okay, obviously Nika Luffy doesn't need to be done with that style of animation because, like, even just standard, obviously, like, standard Looney Tunes, you don't need that. But I'm saying it depends how far they want to go with certain things, Yeah, Nika Luffy is more closer to Saturday morning cartoons than, like, that old era of animation, I suppose. So I think Toei can do it. Day6 19-2000 says, some movies that are very good to you, ? Top 3. Oh, that's a good question. So I think my favorite movie is probably 2001: A Space Odyssey. I have not seen it in the last year. So I think I need to rewatch it not even last year, last 2 years. All right. So I think I need to rewatch it and kind of see how I feel now compared to some other things that I've seen more recently. Because the two things that probably compete hardest in my mind, it's weird because they're both by the same director. So I feel kind of basic saying it. But, like, I think both 8.5 and La Dolce Vita, it's hard for me to call them my favorite movies because it's more just like, I really, really want to create movies myself. So those are the two movies that, like, and ever since I really got into that mindset of thinking of, like, I want to watch movies to, like, learn more about how to construct movies. Ever since I got into that mindset, I watch movies a little differently. So 8.5 and La Dolce Vita stand out a lot to me because of how they're made and how they're directed. I don't know if, like truly as movies, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a little hard to explain. Like, I'm so impressed and I like watching and rewatching them just because you can like, the creativity with how they're made and how everything is presented and the flow of the movie and the flow of each scene. That's what makes them so spectacular. So it's not as much from, obviously, like, narrative perspective or anything like that. So it's hard to say, but those are the movies that stand out the most. But it's because I'm looking at it from that perspective. I'm like, okay, if I just wanted to say, like, what's a movie that, like, let's say that, like, narratively, I just really like the way it's done. I would say, like, City of God, maybe something like that. Aztec Device says, rank these vampires: Dracula, Nosferatu, Blade, Morbius. Stop right there. It's over. You have your number one. Ronnie said, just made a $5,000 bet with my friend on the raid failing. I trust your judgment. Can't wait to win when it happens. Luz Vasquez says, what do you think Jinbei's favorite Indian dish is? I think we can just insert my favorite Indian dish for this. So my favorite Indian dish, maybe it's pav bhaji. I think that might be it. So let's say that's Jinbei's. DR says it's reverse main character privilege. Luffy has to work hard for his power-up and then the side characters get it easily, like Goku with Super Saiyan. I guess so. But then what about the villains? How hard do they have to work for their power-up? How hard does Kaido and Big Mom have to work just to get Awakening? Because they didn't fucking show it. Spider-Man says Wano's almost... Oh, no, we covered this. Okay, I just got behind. All right, okay, let's catch up for a second. Name Jeff says... Oh, Sausage Lord says, thoughts on Pedro, Pell, and Kinemon, ? Look, man, Pedro's dead, so we can be happy about that. I never thought that Kinemon was written with, like, a true death scene, so that's fine. I think Pell, if I could go back and change one thing in the One Piece story, it would probably be Pell's death, because I think... I won't say anything about Wano, so let's say excluding Wano. So I would say Pell's death. I think it was very important to the Alabasta arc for Pell to have died, and the fact that he didn't, I think, was really bad for that arc. But Alabasta's so good overall that it doesn't really matter, but that's really, really, really bad. Name says, if Kaido's gone, do you think someone else will get his devil fruit, particularly one of the weaker strats, or any zone fruit on the island? I don't know if, like, is Kaido just dead? Did Kaido just die after all that talk about how he can't die and how he... I don't know if Kaido's just dead like that. Max says, a lot of people putting Yamato in between Zoro and Sanji, but I think since they're the wings, there can't be a crewmate in between them. I mean, I still don't think Yamato's joining, so I don't think it'll be a topic of debate for that much longer. But I do think that Zoro and Sanji will always be 2 and 3. I mean, Sanji's name, it's literally 3. It's Sanji, right? Zaibatsu says, do you feel that Kaido and especially Big Mom were taken out a bit too easily? Ha! A bit too... Emperors have been built up for decades. Agreed. If it was one emperor, I'd understand. Not 2 at the same time. I'm with you 100%, man. The Hidden Island says, chances Denjiro's face goes back to normal. I don't think it will. I don't think it was just like a temporary makeover. Boss Jinbei says, what epithet and territory would you want if you were in One Piece? That's a great question. Honestly, Totoland is the best. Totoland is easily the best, right? It's just infinite food. It's just infinite food. It's like a wonderful fairy tale wonderland type place. This is assuming that Big Mom doesn't rule it, because in that scenario, it's obviously terrible. Brave Towel says, Morge, Act 2 ended chapter 956. The tragedy will happen chapter 1056 if there is one ending the act. Should have given yourself until then to forsake us. Look, I mean, I'm always allowed to change. If something changes in the story, then I'm obviously going to be able to go back and be like, hey, looks like the raid's going to fail. I'm always allowed to change, but I had to stick to my word and give like some sort of a cutoff. Edward Roman, what's up, man? Have you read Goodbye Eri by Tatsuki Fujimoto? Yes, I think it is fantastic, but at the same time, the ending is so absolutely bizarre. It's like he wrote this thing that was actually so weirdly beautiful, and then he was like, fuck it, I don't need it. It's actually like the most freewheeling mangaka I've ever followed. Makes me look forward to Chainsaw Man 2 quite a bit. Dr. Farewell says, why is Shrek 2 the best movie sequel? Love your vids. Shrek 2 is actually great. I've talked about this before, but I grew up, we didn't have too many DVDs of movies when I was growing up. I did have like a lot of VHS tapes of Disney movies, but we didn't have a lot of DVDs. One of the few DVDs we had was Shrek 2, which means that Shrek 2 got watched a lot in my household. Not Shrek 1, we didn't have that. We had Shrek 2. And part of the best thing about Shrek 2 DVD was that it had all these extras. Like it had like an America's Got, I think I've talked about this on stream before, but it had like an America's Got Talent where all the characters take turns competing in a talent singing contest basically, and it's great. I like to think of that as canon, even though it clearly doesn't fit into the plot of the story. Nacho Sotel Zero says, hey, I still believe the Sea Prism Stone thing from volcanoes happened and Kaido and Big Mom were trapped. No way they're dead. Also, what happened to Big Mom Pirates? Question mark. A week passed. She definitely escaped. Here's my thing about the volcano Sea Prism Stone thing. If that's the case, why didn't Oda just write that they got why did he write that they ended up in lava? Why didn't he just write that they got sent all the way down to the sea floor, right? Like, that's the same thing, right? If they're underwater, wouldn't that be the same thing as if this complicated explanation of like, well, they're in magma, and magma can lead to sea stone creation, so therefore they're trapped because of sea stone. It's like, no, you could just write that they ended up on the seafloor. Like, it was Oda's choice to say, hey, there's magma and underwater volcanoes in Wano, because that wasn't a thing that was established before. If Oda had just written that, hey, they got punched under the island, are now basically underwater, or surrounded by water in some way, that would have flowed too. So I don't really know if that's necessarily the reason, but sure. Ivan back from the card shop says, jail Beast over Kaido, new agenda, show support, please. Look, I would be labeled too toxic if I push something like that, even though it's quite logical to say. Aztec Device says, spoiler alert, Bruce Willis is dead the whole time. Yeah, I'm sorry if that ruined the Sixth Sense for some of you guys, but this guy doesn't care about spoilers. I'm so sad that none of the mods caught it. All right, so we're almost at 2K viewers. I think now is as good a time as any to talk about this. Anuj Agarwal says, magma is more ominous than water. Yeah, that's true, so I guess for ominous points it works like that. Big announcement. I forgot about the chair. So I literally forgot about the chair. So the chair was not the big announcement, though. That was, but if somebody hadn't pulled it up, I was already planning I'm going to go swap out my chair for the other chair at some point, but then I forgot over the course of the stream. So if that hadn't been brought up, that would have been forgotten. Here's the big announcement, which is I know a lot of you guys enjoy the streams quite a bit. The stream base, I guess, has grown a lot. I think ever since I started not having terrible laggy streams, knock on wood, and started streaming a bit more consistently, and yes, even showing up on time. I do want to stick to that. I may start doing Thursday streams as well. The announcement is basically we're starting a new channel, which is going to be compilations of the stream, cut into smaller pieces, because that's something that people have been asking for a lot. Usually at the moment, we have the Morge Streams channel, where I basically post the full VOD of the stream, which I know a lot of people like, but then a lot of people do want something that's more digestible. So a 10-minute compilation like other real streamers do, so that if you miss the stream, you can at least enjoy it in its condensed form. So that's something that's coming. And that channel should be up and running with some ready-to-go compilation videos, basically hopefully started next week. I think hopefully started next week. So I don't know if you guys want that much. Don't know how many people really are looking forward to that, but that'll be, for those of you who care about that, that'll be a thing. Supreme Pirate King says, Big Mom would drown underwater. That's probably why he introduced Sea Stone. My bad if this was addressed before you got to this lull. That's actually a really good point. Big Mom would die. Kaido would not die. But a way to incapacitate both of them without killing them would be Sea Stone. GDN says, just splurged $3,000 on a raid failing bet. I got nothing to say on that. Prime Lloyd says, cool, I guess, so more money for you. Yes, but the people who... Okay, so that's true. That's true, but I also feel that a lot of people do want the thing. So it's a win-win. It's a win-win scenario. Everybody's happy. GK says, even if the raid does not fail, I think Oda is too intentional as an author to not have predicted this unfinished business feeling we have. I mean, I like to think so. It has to be set up for something in or after Wano. I like to think so. Virgil Hawkins says, Morge, thoughts on Dritz's part 2 video? I have not yet watched his part 1 video, but I will watch that part 1. He told me to watch a certain section of the part 1 video because he agreed with me that it's maybe a little too long. Someone said I have like 6 YouTube channels. Yeah, and some of them are neglected. This one will not be neglected. Movie Morge is dying out there. But honestly, I might start working more on Movie Morge post Wano. But... Dritz told me to just watch a part of the part 1 video. So I'll watch that. And then maybe once I get time, I'll do the part 2. Joe Mama says, Rajesh is doing the compilation vids for sure. And all the pieces have come together. That's correct. Jose Lario says, lol, watch the Dritz video, he said. Look, I don't know about the Dritz. I know the... So I watched a little bit. I've seen some people quote the Dritz video, and I've watched like a tiny bit. I can tell it's very aggressive. And maybe a little too insulting. So I don't know. So I feel like I have to wade through some stuff to get to whatever content he really wants in there. Matthew Hunt says, why can't Yamato have her character arc after joining the crew? Being trapped in one place until now could cause her character to be stagnant, right? She could have a character arc after joining the crew. That's completely fair. But at the same time, it's like every Straw Hat kind of, what felt like made them into a Straw Hat was them having the character arc to join the crew. Like, it was the character arc that shaped them into the character they needed to be to join the crew. And I'm tired of people bringing up Robin because this is something that I addressed in my Yamato video, which is that Robin was not a true Straw Hat until Enies Lobby. So this is not the same thing. This is a thing where it's like Yamato's being treated like a real Straw Hat as of right now. Robin herself was very, very clear that she had no plans on being it was very obvious that she was going through her usual cycle of like, well, now I'm going to hop onto this crew. And like slowly she warmed up to them. And slowly that led to this pivotal moment for her character where she finally got her character arc that then shaped her into a Straw Hat. And was the most important Straw Hat character arc in the entire series. So Robin is like the polar opposite of Yamato. Mauricio Del Val says, how are you going to improve the second Morge plush? If the raid doesn't fail, then there's not going to be a second Morge plush. Because the only thing I could do again is Luffy. I would love to do a Kaido version of the Morge plush if the raid failed, but we know how it is. Maybe I'll do another Morge plush anyway, but it'd have to be a really good idea. Kakashi Snitch 9 says, if this is actually how Wano ends and how Kaido's character arc ends, would you agree he's probably the worst main villain in One Piece, especially with how hyped up he was? Low-key has me worried for Blackbeard and Akainu. I need to reread before I make any sort of like. Obviously, I've said like little comments and little jabs here and there so far. I'm not going to pretend I haven't over the course of this stream, but I'm trying not to make any sort of very strong proclamations or statements or whatever, basically about my personal perceived quality of the arc or my personal perceived view of like the writing decisions, etc. How good I think a character is or whatever, how well handled something was, until I have reread the full arc, because I think that's fair. Okay, so Kaido, I'm going to hold my thoughts on that. The one thing that I think a lot of people who are making arguments for Kaido, like too many expectations, his backstory didn't need to be that long, like, Crocodile didn't have a backstory, etc. I think the big key missing piece people are having about that conversation, and again, I'm going to reread the full arc before I give my argument and my take on it, right? But at the moment, I think what people are missing is that Kaido is not comparable to other villains because Oda clearly planted significantly more in terms of Kaido's character, and you can, like, it's very explicit throughout Wano. Raised questions, right? Raised questions throughout Wano, through Kaido, the statements he was making, the questions that he himself explicitly was raising, and the hints that he was giving. All of it was shaping to something basically more complex, right? It's basically like with Crocodile, we found out that there was a lot more complexity and depth to Crocodile later on. Through small things like his cover story, his dream of being Pirate King, his relationship with Whitebeard or whatever happened to him in the past, right? So that's good. Oda raised those questions and kind of gave us more information about Crocodile as we went on. In the Alabasta arc, Oda really tried not to do that. He tried to keep Crocodile a very straightforward, clear-cut character. His philosophy was very easily understandable of what he doesn't believe in trusting people, he doesn't believe in having friends, etc. There weren't a lot of question marks surrounding Crocodile. There were some small ones dropped towards the end in terms of like, oh, wait, it sounds like you had some interesting past experience on the Grand Line. Tell me about that, right before Luffy defeated him, right? But at the same time, Oda's not trying to raise a lot of questions around Crocodile. Same thing with like a character like Eno. Same thing like with a character like Lucci. Kaido is different in that Kaido very clearly and explicitly, there's so much more raised over the course of Wano surrounding his character that didn't end up going anywhere, and kind of retroactively, as far as I remember, makes a lot of what he seemed to represent and what he seemed to talk about or be hinting at kind of lose all weight, okay? So we weren't having this discussion with Doflamingo. With Doflamingo, everyone was really happy because it wasn't like there was any missing pieces or questions that we felt. We felt as though Doflamingo was more fleshed out than many of us expected, right? Kaido, it's really the opposite. And that's not reader expectations. That's stuff that I could easily go throughout the Wano arc and compile a quick video of all things that are clear narrative setups or questions explicitly raised surrounding his character, or things that seem to be important and motivations that need answers for, that he himself suggests there is an answer for that we then don't get, which is very drastically different from other One Piece villains. So you can't compare him to other One Piece villains because the setups that we got for him are setups we did not get for other One Piece villains. Nacho Sotelo says, isn't Wano supposed to be a kabuki play with 5 acts, the third act ending in tragedy? It should be, in theory. Act 3 hasn't ended. Calm before the storm, ? Don't say no comment. I would love to say that, yeah, that's a possibility. I would love to say that, yeah, that's a possibility. Caleb Brown says, hey Mojipoo, loving the content. Just wondered who your favorite king/ruler in One Piece is. That's a cool question. My favorite king/ruler in One Piece is probably Cobra. Maybe Vivi, but that's not fair. That's because I like Vivi as a character. As like a king/ruler, I think it's Cobra. Cobra's just a cool guy. Like, they did some awful shit to Cobra. Like, everybody, Koza was a dick to him, understandably so. The Mole duo, Mr. Four duo, they were really mean to him. Like, all Baroque Works was mean to him. I think Crocodile then nailed him up against the wall or something, like cross style or whatever. Like a lot of shit happened to Cobra, and he took it like a champ. Like the whole time he was just like stressed about what's gonna happen to the people of Alabasta. He's just like, please, can we stop doing this? Let's find some way to do peace or whatever. He just took everything really, really, really well. And he just seemed like Riku was kind of the dude that, like, he's got a good heart, right? King Riku had a good heart, but he fumbled over and over with how he handled the whole Doflamingo situation. Obviously, it's like there's only so much that can be done, but I feel like Cobra kind of just always felt like he had the good heart, the right temperament. Just it felt like he was like a very, kingly figure and everything like that. And then the bowing scene and everything like that later on, that was really respectable as well. And he carried Luffy out from underground. It was just some cool stuff that Cobra did. Bene, thanks, appreciated. Dalcor says, Morge, would you have read Stephen King's The Dark Tower series or any of King's works for that? Have you read? Yeah, no, I used to be a solid Stephen King fan when I was like younger. I think the first book I read was Cell. I liked The Long Walk. I mean, I've read The Shining. I read Cujo, which was a big disappointment. Misery, which was great. Like, I like a lot of Stephen King books. Past a certain point, I no longer had as much interest in them, but The Dark Tower seems really cool. It seems like a very lengthy series to get into. Yeah. Jake Jones says, hey, I'll be watching this at work tomorrow. As usual, I know you can't say it, so I will. Kaido will get back up. Pierce Sullivan says, Morge sounds like there's someone slightly off camera pointing a gun to his head, telling him not to talk about the raid failing. Well, I'm not allowed to talk about the raid failing. That person pointing the gun at my head is myself. Think about that. Felix C says, Morge is about to gaslight himself into liking Wano. No, I think that all I'm trying to do is basically like tell myself, like, look, reread with an open mind. I think it's entirely likely I'll find more things that I dislike, but maybe I find a few things that I don't dislike as much on second try. I don't know. Nerve AMV Maker says Zoro should have died in Thriller Bark, ? His character hasn't grown at all since then. It doesn't seem like Oda has any plan for his character. I can't tell if this is like a sarcastic question or something like that, but my opinion, I think a lot of the Straw Hats have, slow levels of growth, like more minor growth over the long span of the series. I think that Zoro definitely could use more, simply because the Wano arc seemed really, really good for him for that sort of setup. I will say that with Zoro in Wano specifically, I'm having a really, really hard time reconciling kind of his Act 2 storyline with Act 3. Again, this is why a reread is necessary, but it's just so bizarrely incoherent at the moment. It seems like Oda had some plan for Zoro in Act 2, but then just threw that away in Act 3 and made up something else for him that seems totally different. And none of it really led to any sort of character growth, even though Zoro could easily use it. Ghost Warrior 0094 says, Morge, do you know Alvida is just Kaido plus Big Mom? Okay, time out. I have a really good video coming out tomorrow. It's actually a really, really good video. It's funny you brought that up. That's not something that comes up in the video, but it's actually something slightly related. I think tomorrow's video is actually really, really good. Because it's one of the videos that when I was thinking about it, I was kind of surprised. Like, it's a video where when I'm initially writing it, then I'm having more and more realizations as I'm writing it. And then I'm going back and finding myself rereading parts of the story a little bit just to flesh out the video. And I don't know. I think it's a really, really good video. It's a little bit related to basically, I'll say it's related to, jumping off what you just said, it's related to East Blue and the New World. So I'm not going to expand on that any further here. The Pirate Hero says, did we ever learn what made Kaido so jaded or depressed? No. Or even why Wano was so important to him yet? No. Unless I'm off, we still need answers. I mean, some people will tell you we don't need answers and that it's wrong of readers to expect answers to clear setups. DR says, do it, Morge. Enter your villain arc and go hard on your criticisms. This community needs to face the music a bit more. Yeah, but Morge also needs to protect himself. I don't want to just throw away. I can't be like a One Piece YouTuber who just dislikes One Piece because I love One Piece. Even if I happen to not like this arc as much, I don't want to like go down a Dritz route basically and just be like, well, this channel exists to dislike One Piece. There are things that I have stated and made clear that I really, really like about Wano. I love Gear 5th. I love aspects of Wano, but and I'll always love a lot of aspects of One Piece. But this arc, even if it didn't hit, I can still hope for the next arc, etc. I'll share my thoughts on the arc, but I'm not going to put it out like, this is why Wano was bad. I'm literally just going to share my thoughts. This is my feelings on certain things I enjoyed, didn't enjoy, certain things I've enjoyed in past arcs that I felt were not as prevalent in this arc, etc. You don't need to binge/reread Marineford or Enies Lobby to know they're good. Yeah, that's true, but look, let's be fair and reasonable here, which is like, to be fair, first of all, I did read before I do any sort of like large scale arc breakdown, like a whole cake, I did reread that. Before I did the Marineford breakdown, I did reread that. Enies Lobby, I kind of skimmed because the timing was rough. But I do try and at least go back and skim/reread before I do any sort of large scale breakdown. You just have to. Otherwise, you're missing stuff in itself, right? And with Wano, let's be fair. I read the entirety of the Wano arc with a certain expectation, right? So that's not fair. I need to go back and reread without that expectation in my head, and then see if my opinion remains the same, or if certain things are different, or if I'm even more disappointed in certain things, David P. says, do you think Momo will join the crew and the Strats make it a goal to find Jewelry Bonnie to change him back to an 8-year-old? I still think that Jewelry Bonnie will be used to change him back to an 8-year-old, because it's just bizarre to me that, what the fuck is, is Momo just gonna be old as, the Momo aging up thing, the manner in which it was done was so trivial and nonchalant. That's why I feel like it's not a permanent change to him. Because if it's a permanent change to him, that's like a really, really, really big deal. That's a huge, huge sacrifice. But it was kind of done. It was literally done off screen and basically not truly I see some people hyping up how amazing it is that Momo made this sacrifice of his childhood, etc. It's yeah, but that's the sort of thing you want to explore through the character themselves, right? You want to write a little bit about that. Don't treat it so casually that Momo just aged up 20 years. Maybe there should be how does he feel about this? How does he feel about what he sacrificed? Is anybody commenting on the sacrifice that he made, etc.? The same way Odin went through what Odin went through. It was good to have a character like Shinobu, because Odin's not going to speak for himself. It was good to have a character like Shinobu basically voicing, this is what Odin has been enduring. This is why it's so significant what he did, the sacrifice that he's made. So with Momonosuke, it's to me, if the aging up is not temporary and it truly is permanent, then in that case, I'm actually mind blown, because I'm it was done so casually, offhand, off screen, with no one really commenting about it or no one actually treating it like it's a big sacrifice. There's no real writing surrounding it, at least from Momo's perspective in general, what that decision means for him, right? That, maybe we get it going forward, but that's why I get the sense that it's just a temporary situation. And the fact that a character clearly exists, Jewelry Bonnie, who's capable of making it reversed. Data Deficient says, Wano has to be 5 acts. Makes no sense to have a 15-chapter Act 1, 30-chapter Act 2, 100-chapter Act 3, and that's it. Yeah, because in that case, you could probably just make it all one act. Because it's if one of those acts makes up 80% of the story, why would you even write it as a 3-act play? That's not a 3-act story. It makes more sense if there's multiple, maybe 5 acts of differing lengths. But at the same time, if Oda just felt like having 3 acts just to have 3 acts, then maybe that's what he did. 1056 is the 100 chapter of Act 3. Tragedy will hit then. I don't know, man. Maybe. Everything I'm saying right now is unfortunately a combination of me not being able to talk about 1052 and the spoilers that I have read for that, and me not being allowed to say whatsoever that, the raid's going to fail or anything like that. So at this moment, I definitely look like I'm being held at gunpoint. 7 Ribe says, do you ever feel you're reading too deep into things? Oda targets a casual audience. Keep up the great content, though. I love your analysis despite not agreeing with your thoughts on the raid. It depends, because, there's a difference between reading too deep into things versus assuming there's nothing there. So I'll say this, you can set Oda aside. Every shonen writer, there's not a single series that I can recall off the top that literally doesn't do themes, because you don't have a story without themes. There's nothing there, right? So you can forget shonen. I've said this before, but fucking Care Bears, you could watch the Care Bears show or something. That's gonna have themes. Like, it's actually legitimately very difficult to write a story that's coherent at all if it doesn't have themes. So pretty much every show you can think of does have that. And if we go to shonen, right, people shit on something like Black Clover. Completely fair. I still think a lot of Black Clover hate is unwarranted or unnecessary, because I get it. It's a relatively, something just fell off the wall, relatively generic shonen. I think it's a generic shonen that happens to do most shonen things decently well. But you can look at a series like that and still be like, okay, so it's got themes that it's writing around, right? That's easy to identify. Naruto, whatever, any series you want to point to, Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, whatever, they all have themes that you can identify, break down, etc. So just because in the One Piece community pretty much nobody else really puts the time into doing that, doesn't mean that One Piece doesn't have a lot of themes to examine and break down. It doesn't mean that One Piece doesn't have character arcs, although Wano is sorely lacking in that department. Every series has those things to break down, otherwise they wouldn't be really published. I think One Piece does it particularly well in general on a larger scale. Wano, I'm going to try and give it a shot reading again to try and pull some strong substance and see if I can examine that over the course of the arc. But at the moment, out of all the notes I have, because I do keep notes while I'm reading overall on an arc in general, at the moment, all of the notes that I have do make it seem like a relatively incoherent or poorly fleshed out in terms of its thematic messaging compared to Oda's usual standard. And a lot of it does seem, I'm not going to say anything. I'll wait till I've reread it again, do it justice, etc. Terry Martin says, can't catch today's stream, but much love, Max. Thanks, Terry. Nacho Sotelo says, sure, I'm really late to this, but as he was about to get executed, Momo declared his dream of becoming the Shogun, paralleling Luffy in Logtown. Wanted to share that because I thought it was wholesome. That's true. And see, honestly, that's like a parallel that I think is like a fair parallel to bring up. And that's something that, you can break down in the story and bring up. And that's something I didn't think of. So that's why rereading will be good. Bene says, hey, Morge, do you think Luffy will criticize Yamato for her borrowed dream and send her down a path of finding her own motivations? I would love for something like that to happen. I think it would be absolutely crazy if Yamato's just like the shallowest character ever written, who has little to pretty much no dynamic or relationship with the crew or Luffy in general, and who's living basically a lie that inspired entirely from her entire life goal is inspired entirely from just reading a diary while she was in jail. So I would love for anything to happen with Yamato's character other than just being rewarded with joining the crew and continuing down this delusion. Thomas Cass says Usopp versus Chu was better than almost every Wano fight. Yeah, that's no question. Great Kate says Kaido and Big Mom are going to erupt in the middle of the Flower Capital covered in magma like demons from hell. It's either this or the Marines come in to annex Wano. You can't change my mind. No comment. Supreme Pirate King says, I think Momo will get aged down and Hiyori will die. I also think Tama is a Kurozumi, purple hair, making her friendship with Momo symbolic. I saw something talking about Kurozumi Tama being confirmed or something like that. I might be wrong. But it seemed like it was potentially confirmed from somewhere. Are we getting raided by Randy? Is Randy in chat? Oh, Evil's in chat. Hey, Evil, what's going on? I don't see Randy in chat, but I'm being told I'm being raided. All right, everybody from the Randy raid. We're not talking about spoilers here, so if you've read them, just keep your mouths shut. Oh my god, this chat's just going to be full of savage from here on. Billy Bob says, Morge, who do you hate more, Law or Yamato? I don't actually hate Law. It's incomparable between Law and Yamato. I think Law's a well-written character. I think Yamato's one of the worst, in my opinion, at this moment in time, in my opinion, one of the worst written characters that's like ever been dropped in the series. Like, I just personally disliked Law for a long time, and at this point I'm like lukewarm / not loving him. But he's a good character. He's a good character. I've always explained my dislike for Law was purely from a personal standpoint of me back in high school, having just finished, like, I'm reading weekly. Pre-time skip has ended. The Straughts are out. They've trained and everything like that. I'm excited to see them take the spotlight, shine in the new world, beat up bad guys, and instead it becomes a Trafalgar Law show. I've said this before many times, but Punk Hazard through 80% of Dressrosa, it's literally he's the main character. It's Trafalgar Law and Friends for like 100 chapters straight. More than that, I'd argue. Like probably like chapter 650 something where he shows up to like chapter like 675 or something in Dressrosa. It's the Trafalgar Law show, pretty much, straight up. Randy says my crew doesn't spoil. That's good to know. My crew does all sorts of shit. All I know is I look at my chat, I see a lot of people getting banned. All I can assume is that they're trying to spoil. Look at this. Big News Morgans. Right away, I see message deleted by Thomas Kaz. Someone trying to spoil right there. That's for sure. CK says, am I alone in thinking Jack was one of the most underhyped villains in the series? Did we even see his hybrid form? Jack is like, you could, it's like, there's so many other things to discuss like, I remember there was a point where Jack was like a hot controversial point of discussion. Like, I think this was back up on the roof. Jack had just gotten fucked up by Inuarashi Nekomamushi in their Sulong forums. People complaining like this is like the 8th L or whatever Jack has taken or whatever. I think since then, there are so many other things that have happened and so many other points of controversy coming out of this potentially that Jack is like, he's a footnote at this point. Who even cares? I don't mind at all. Jack is, if Jack was the worst thing to happen in this arc, then that's not a big deal. But there's a lot more to discuss in my opinion. Notify says, real raid fail was the friends we made along the way. I think I lost a lot of friends over the course of this. I think a lot of people dislike me over the course of the... I think it's the opposite. Real raid fail was the people we lost along the way. Mauricio de Laval says, tell my grandma to quicken the pace reading Alabasta. Why is your grandma... I don't know if she's gonna... I don't know. I don't know how old your grandma is, but she's going to lose a lot of years of her life just like trying to wait on One Piece ending. I don't know if this is the best thing to get her invested in at this stage in her life. Shinkai9 Kami 16 says, despite the raid succeeding, do you think there will still be a tragedy, and does Wano still have a chance to continue to 5 acts? So, I mean, again, I've read future spoilers, so I'm not allowed to talk about what I think's happening really next. Caleb Brown says, shout out to both Randy and Evil. They're my guys. Yeah, shout out to both of them. Thanks for the shout out to me. You know, that's appreciated. But yeah, shout out to those guys. Tarek says, Morb, do you think Luffy will lose his Devil Fruit before he becomes Pirate King? I think it'd be really fucking cool if that happened. But at this point, was the grandma comment too far? Sorry about the grandma comment. She's 80. I'm just trying to help you out. Get her into something. Get her into Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man goes back like, it goes by like that. You can read Chainsaw Man in half a day. A full day, if you want to give it some time. Chainsaw Man, it's a breeze. It's great. No, I would love something like the Luffy losing his Devil Fruit, but at this point, I'm not going to assume certain things that are like... At this point, I have a hard time believing in... Let's say this. At this point, I have a hard time in believing in Oda making certain bold writing decisions, basically. That's where I'm at. So if I look at it through that perspective, I would say, no, I don't think Luffy loses his fruit. Old Green Knee says, the last chapter is the last chapter I'm reading. Like, I was so excited for Kaido's awakening and so disappointed that Yamato joined. Reader since 2011. I mean, I would say just keep giving it, like, some time, see how you feel, because that's a bit reactionary, but we gotta wait and see. Archer says, don't worry. I don't know why Archer's not a mod. Let me mod you. Maybe because I don't see you in chat too often. I think this might be your first time in chat. Arthur says, don't worry. Even if the raid doesn't fail, I'll still be your friend, Morge. All right, so maybe the raid failing was the friends we made along the way. Thanks, Arthur. Dayday6192000 says, hashtag Akainu boys, are we getting Luffy versus Akainu? I think we get Luffy versus Akainu. I mean, Akainu is the character in the entire story that I think even more than Blackbeard, Akainu is one of the few and maybe only characters that Luffy has openly shown that he still has a grudge against. We remember Jinbei talking about him in Fishman Island, and when he brought up Akainu, Luffy actually, you could see Luffy was angry and he was grabbing his scar. I think it's so rare for Luffy to maintain long-term grudges against characters where just the mention of their name makes him mad, but Akainu's that guy. So I would love to see Luffy versus Akainu. Like, end of story Luffy, I wouldn't even mind if that fight's a beatdown, because end of story Luffy versus Akainu, I don't know. It looks rough for Akainu. CK says, do you miss the spirit of family from the crew pre-time skip? I feel like Luffy doesn't even scream Nakama anymore. I think I would like to believe that we will get more of that going forward with a less bloated arc from here to come. Gerance Rambo says, thank you, Morge, for never subjecting to kid hate. I mean, enough people do that already. I feel like I had very high hopes for Kid over the course of this arc. I don't think there's anything I need to talk about with Kid necessarily. So it's like, Randy's saying, even Randy's joining in on the Morbin time jokes. So Randy said it's Morgan time in all caps. Archer said it's everyone type, it's Morgan time. The stream is dead. Chat is mods do something. Except it's my own mods, Randy and Archer, pushing them to do this. Aztec Device says, Mr. Mordrangun, for your birthday, if you could have any wish, what would you wish for? Am I allowed to wish for the raid feeling? If I could wish for anything, it would probably be, I don't know. Like, I want to say $1 million, but then I'm like, why don't I wish for like $2 million? And then I'm like, well, then I could just wish for $10 million. But then this other thought comes into my head. I'm like, I could wish for $1 billion. And then what's crazy is I keep topping that in my head, you know? So I don't know what I'll wish for necessarily. I'll wish for the raid feeling. Let's go simple. Let's keep it like that. Tire 1 Will says, Randy Savage crew requesting permission to board Mr. Morge. Well, with that type of donation, yeah, 100%, you're in. That's the fee to board. Supreme Pirate King says, land, sea, or air. I appreciate it, man, by the way. Definitely appreciate it. Supreme Pirate King says, land, sea, or air in a 1v1, always bet on Magma. Yeah, I think at this point, maybe Oda's just trying to show us that Akainu's just the strongest. Randy Troy says, Wano failing and the raid failing are two different things. The raid can no longer fail. Kaido is down and Onigashima is over. Wano could still end in failure, but not the raid. It depends, because it's like, if Kaido cuts back up, like, if they fail to liberate Wano from Kaido and the Beast Pirates, then the raid failed, right? But the way it looks is Kaido's done, right? If it's some other force coming in, so example, Marines, etc., then yeah, something really bad could still happen to Wano, of course, but my theory would be incorrect. That's factually true. Caleb Brown says, just want to say love you, Morgie. Don't feel left out. Thanks, Caleb. I appreciate it. Felix C says, I need financial compensation for starting the Morgan time. How about I ban you for starting Morgan time? How about that? Aztec Device says, what is the fee to mod? Oh, it's accumulated over time. You can't just do it in one stream. Dayday6192000 says, do you believe in Randy Theory, Law, and Garp and Shield? Yeah, I mean, I can get behind that. I've talked with Randy about that, I think, when I was on his stream. And I can get behind that. I think that'll be cool to see. Dynamo says, do you think Luffy and Zoro will be out for the beginning of next arc? Also, I don't think it's time for Elbaf yet. I've no comment, because I've seen 1052, so no comment. Mute says, yo, Morge, took a while, but I just finished a really clean color spread tier list with labels. Really want you to check it out. How should I send it? I think other people have already made... Just at me on Twitter and say it's the color spread, basically. I'll see it right away. But I might be wrong on this. I think a color spread might have already been made by somebody. I might be wrong on that, but you send yours over to me. We'll see if we can make everyone feel like their work was not for nothing. We'll see how it goes. I'm sure that there's a way that we can make this all work together. Jonas Ali says, I guess no Zoan gets back up except Luffy lol. I guess so, man. Anuj Agarwal says, the stream is dead, he said with 2K viewers. Yeah, but they're all spamming Morgan time. That's a dead stream. I don't want... The stream is alive so long as I feel as though I have control over it. When I have control over the stream, that's when the stream's alive. I'm like Doflamingo. I need to have power over everything. This is like everyone yelling Morgan time is basically like the sugar just got knocked out and the toys are running free in my Dressrosa. So I'm going to have to birdcage and nuke the stream basically to call an end to it. I just remembered I have to order my DoorDash. This is a real tragedy. If I don't get my DoorDash set up right now, then I won't be able to time it up to be able to eat at the end of the stream. Yamil Diaz says, it's been a while since my last stream. New chair? Yes, the chair was actually unveiled today over the course of this stream. It was a big moment. Everyone cheered. No one said Morgan time. It was a great high point of the stream. Supreme Pirate King says, BTW Morge, your business email is not on Twitter. It is. That's my new business email. You guys got to talk through. Just say it's from Morge. They transferred over. I'm now managed by Table Rock Management. Just so you guys know, that's a thing. Weekly Shonen Punch says the raid was on Onigashima. Onigashima has fallen. I hope Kaido gets up, but the raid has failed. Sorry, bro. Hashtag it's Morgan time. I mean, that's not the, what do you call? There's no point in discussing this because I've seen 1052 basically. But just because I don't like technicalities or whatever, you all understand that the raid failing, the entire argument was literally just Alliance fails to take down Kaido and Beast Pirates. Beast Pirates ultimately defeat them over the course of Act 3, and then the final battle is a later date. Raid fail wasn't even initially called raid fail. That just became the nickname. So I'm trying to order DoorDash at the same time. That just became the nickname because you guys coined it that. The original theory is just called the Fire Festival will end in failure. People started saying the raid will fail. So I was like, okay, the raid will fail. That's what we're calling it. I could have called it Kaido wins. I could have called it the Alliance fails, etc. It's all still the same theory. So I don't want to hear any of this technicality BS that's like, well, technically the raid's over. It's like, no, if Kaido and the Beast Pirates get back up and beat the Alliance right now, then obviously the raid will have failed. The Alliance has failed. Kaido won, blah, blah, blah. The final battle is a different date. That's what the theory is. So I don't want to hear any of the technicality stuff. That being said, I'm not allowed to talk about the raid failing anymore. So that's point one. And on top of that, I've read 1052. So I can't talk about anything. We can't talk about anything here. It's unfortunate, but it is the way it is. We can have this discussion, I suppose, next week. But by next week, who knows? Chapter 1053 or 1054 spoilers might be out just because that's how spoilers are going at this point. They're coming out earlier and earlier. It's also just like... yeah, it's also at this point, it's just like, I wonder when we get to the point where the spoilers for the next chapter will be out the same time that the actual chapter releases. You know what I mean? Like, are we going to get to a point where basically people will be reading the chapters release, the scans release on like Thursday, but the spoilers for the next one are already out? You know what I mean? You guys know what I mean. All right. That's taken care of. Where are we at? Edward Roman says Golden State versus Celtics. How's it looking? I think that I was worried about Golden State initially, but I now believe that they can. I now think that they've got it in them. I now think that they can do it. I do hope the Warriors win. Jonas Ali says, is every Luffy fight from now on a Looney Tune fight? I don't know. I wonder how long Oda can keep that fresh. But then I think about that and I'm like, well, actual Looney Tunes did it for, I don't know, half a century. So I'm sure Oda will be able to do something. It's tricky because we really enjoyed it in One Piece for the novelty that we got from the Luffy versus Kaido situation. So I don't know. And I also don't know exactly why he would use that versus, or why he would use Gear 4th versus that at this point. So we got to see. No Brain says, weird that there isn't a Dawn imagery to Kaido's defeat. I hope Volcanic Winter will be a thing for Act 4 if the raid fails. No sun for months. Thoughts. Would be cool to see, but at the same time, it's like, I'm not allowed to say things. I feel like I should just wear that on a shirt for the rest of this stream. Talha Jahan says, I know you've mentioned before that Luffy, Zoro, and Nami are the 3 most main characters. Yes. But I find it hard to argue Nami greater than Sanji anymore in the New World since he's been more important every arc so far. It's really tricky because Sanji's more important for battle purposes, obviously, right? In the context of fighting, etc. Sanji's the wing, Zoro's the wing, etc. It makes sense. And we've gotten further and further away from like tighter crew interactions and like just the Straw Hats together making decisions, etc. In which, in those scenarios, like if you remember Whole Cake Island, Nami was very, very, very important over the course of Whole Cake Island, and she was again at Luffy's side for the first time throughout a long section of that arc for the first time in a long, long time. And you really, really, because that was a tighter, more personal, more intimate arc, you really, really got Nami over the course of that entire arc really being like kind of the heart and soul of everything that's going on. And she's having like her reactions and how she's working with Luffy and like bouncing off Luffy and everything like that. Their dynamic actually really carries a lot of the emotion and drama of Whole Cake Island, even more so than Luffy and Sanji, I think, in my opinion. So I think that used to kind of be the norm with Nami, but with the way that, you know, with the way that Wano is constructed, obviously it just can't be that case. So maybe in Elbaf future arcs we see certain things, you know. Studio Alex is here saying the raid will fail, rhetoric is over. Yeah, it is over. It is over. It is officially over. It's officially over. I'm not supposed to be saying any of that. Thomas Gass says, you say no spoilers, yet you've been spoiling all of the live action fans. I'm sorry for all of the live action fans who are waiting for this series to launch and who have no idea what happens in any of it. So my sincerest apologies to all of you. Name says, Morby, what do you think the odds are Kid challenges Shanks to a Davy backfight after beating Big Mom to fix his trash crew and becomes red-haired fodder next time we see him? I think it would be cool if we saw him involved in a Davy backfight against Shanks, but I don't think that I don't think it happens in the manner that you're laying out. Aztec Device says, Mr. Morgel and the Raid Failers. I'm no longer one of the Raid Failers. I'm retired. If you could be any mythical Zoan, what would you be? The Dragon Zone seems pretty cool. Anuj Agarwal says, Miss Super from Ashkan Fakiri says, do you remember how the community weekly readers felt when Robin joined after Alabasta? No! Randy, are you here? Is Randy Troy here? Randy can fill in. I became weekly at the tail end of Ennis Lobby, and that was when I was kind of going back and forth between just watching anime episodes and kind of cheating ahead to read the chapters. And I only became really involved in community discussion. It went in phases, right? So first I started cheating ahead to see the chapters, right? So I'm kind of weekly towards the tail end of Ennis Lobby through Thriller Bark. Thriller Bark, I've just become regular weekly. Then I, like, around Marineford is when I started, like, seeing other people's comments and stuff like that and seeing general discourse and things. And then only post-time skip is when I kind of, like, actively started commenting and doing stuff like that myself. Nacho Hotel, okay, deleted. Weekly Shonen Punch says, you should do a spoiler stream so we can have an actual discussion. A lot of us actually read the spoilers, just an idea, lol. Yeah, that was discussed earlier, but it's like, how do I even, I have no idea how many of you guys read the spoilers. Randy, somebody asked, how was the weekly reaction when Nico Robin joined in Alabasta, if you remember that at all? I know that's a long time back. Caleb Brown says, new theory, Morge can't control chat and the stream will fail. P.S. Do you have plans to get channel memberships or can I not see it because I'm on iOS? No, actually, this is something I discussed with Randy recently, so he gave me some advice on channel memberships. I'm starting that soon. It's been in the works. You guys know how I am. I'm kind of slow with certain things. This chair, for example, this took a long, long time to get together. But eventually I was like, okay, it's time to go buy a chair. Same thing with the Clips channel. That took a long time coming, but it should launch next week. I think channel memberships will be coming soon. You know, Sima Lem saying your hair looked better before. Yeah, well, everyone looks bad after a haircut. Leave me alone. Yeah, it'll grow back. Red X says, hashtag Nami is going to adopt Tama. Yeah, would be nice to see. Sad Ray says, Wano felt more like a triumphal arc for and a combination of Straw Hat power and as a setup for later arcs where more development and tension will occur. Sure. I guess. But we've also been in kind of a phase for a while. I don't know. Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, I guess let me do a poll. Who's read the spoilers? Who has read the spoilers for 1052? Me. Wait. Yes. No. Have you? That's how I should phrase it. Have you? Here's the thing. That makes sense that, Wano's just a big triumphal arc, feel good, all the Strats showing off how strong they've gotten, etc. But then at the end of the day, you could say that about Fishman Island. You could say that about Dressrosa. You could say that, I think Whole Cake Island was the first arc truly where it felt like the Strats were on the back foot. They were uncertain, emotionally, really stirred up, riled up. They were all over the place. It felt like there was real, genuine tension, I think, over the course of Whole Cake Island because it came through in the characters. It came through in the Straw Hats. They didn't know what was going to happen next. They were uncertain. They were stressed. They had their backs against the walls. And they were really it really felt like Whole Cake Island was where a lot of drama came out that was really internal, coming from the crew, right? Coming from the protagonist. 65% of you have read the spoilers? 65% of you have read the spoilers? What do? Do I just say everybody get out? Everybody get out at 35% of you get out? We're talking about spoilers? I don't want to do that. But 65% is way higher than I expected. What's wrong with you guys? How often do you guys read the spoilers? Do you guys do this all the time? Randy Troy says, as for Robin and Alabasta, I became weekly in Skypiea. But back then, it was easy for people to remain unspoiled as long as they didn't watch Hikari E, which spoiled it in the opening. That's right, guys. Don't watch anime openings. Ninerbot says, super from Ninerbot. Morge, it would be cool if you let fans do a video call in your show to voice their theories on One Piece like in sports channels. Dude, there's a lot of people here. So doing that, I don't know. It would be like, how do I pick? Okay, people want to do a spoiler stream. Yeah, you know what? We're okay, how about this? Let's do it like this to keep it fair. Let's do it like this, all right? We're going to do at the 45-minute mark. So at 9:45 p.m., this will shift over to spoilers only stream. Yeah. We're going to do that. Actually, 9:40. How about 9:40? It seems like you guys are itching for it. 9:40 we'll switch over to spoilers discussion. Mods, this is part of the other concern, which is I don't know how many mods know spoilers and stuff like that. I don't want to ruin for them. Mods, if you know the spoilers, then please stick around and help moderate. If not, we could talk, I guess, for about 20-ish minutes about the spoiler situation. So at the 9:40 mark, all right? And let me pin a comment for that. 1 second. Ryan K says, I'm really disappointed with how Oda has treated Zoro. No lineage, no black blades, or his eye. I'm not with you on the eye thing. He did slightly more than Sanji in the Land of Samurai. Kaido and Orochi are still right about the samurai. Look, man, there's nothing I can say until the spoiler section started. Is Randy off? Alex is out. See you, man. Randy's got to leave. See you, man. I also assume dodging spoilers. Yeah, you got to get to the live action discussion. Bard here says, can't chat much today, but if the arc is nearly over, which character took the biggest L? Usopp for getting nothing, or Zoro for not getting much for his arc, or maybe somebody else? I personally think Usopp more. Randy Troy says, tell Morch to change the title of the video on YouTube. I'm out. Oh, you're right. Good idea. Let me do that. One Piece. Well, we'll change it when it's time to change it. Chino Wong says, no way, Morge, you work in SLaw. Just the way it is. Scholar 8 says, so Morge can't say Raid will fail. How about Mork? Yeah, Mork can't say it either. We're both bound by the same rule. I'll change the title when it's time to change the title. So let's see. At 9:40 EST, spoilers discussion will begin. So until then, this is a spoiler-free stream. My other concern is, nothing bad will happen to the stream if we talk about spoilers. We'll probably be fine. Okay, I see some people have already begun talking about spoilers. Yeah, it's going to be in 5 minutes, but you know what I mean. Jay says, takes time to update, just change now. All right. I'm tired of everyone telling me how to run this stream, but I'll do it because I get that the advice is correct. Fluffy says, what do you think is going to be the role of Big Mom's crew? I guess they have no role at this point, do they? Oh, you know what I mean. 8:40 EST. Let me change this. No. Yeah. That's correct. All right. Yeah, not in an hour. Calm down, guys. I just messed up. It's rare, but it happens. Rich Ed Mix says, I personally think reading spoilers takes away from the reading experience. Yeah, I mean, I read for this one because I just had to know. You know? There was some study that was done, though, and I don't know if it's, like, accurate or not, or if it's just, like, people BSing, but there was some study, apparently, that reported that when people are spoiled on something and then they go watch it, they actually tend to, on average, enjoy it more than when they weren't spoiled. It's bizarre, but supposedly that's true. I don't know if that's true, though. I have no idea. Caleb Brown says, I'm staying and getting spoiled because I love you. That's... You don't got to get spoiled. I'm not going to stream that much longer, so probably we'll do about 20 to 25 minutes of spoilers discussion. Then we'll call it. I don't even like doing I don't want to do a spoilers discussion because the spoilers I have are so, it's so hard to do a proper discussion without getting the right context and everything like that. You know what I mean? You want to read the chapter. You want to see what the tone is. You want to see what the panels look like, the flow of the chapter, etc. Talha Jahan says, if Sanji is more of a main character than Nami in a battle-centric arc, and all of the new world is battle-centric, isn't it odd to say she's more of a main character? Law greater than Frankie 2 in who's more main? So that's one of the things. It's kind of like, yeah, maybe the crux of the story is kind of like, maybe the core elements of the story have probably shifted a little bit over time. Maybe Oda didn't intend to be it as alliance-centric as he initially did, but because it is, so now certain characters like Nami will be naturally less relevant, whereas certain characters like Law, Kid, are going to be more prominent, and characters that are still battle necessities like Sanji are also going to still get to keep more of their shine. Chino Wong says, Morge losing numbers for spoiler discussion, lol. Yeah, I mean, it's just the way it is. So, guys, thank you for coming through. The stream's only going to go on for 20-ish minutes more or whatever. So you're not missing out on much. This was just the best way to do it because it seemed like there's a lot of people in chat who've read the spoilers for this week. It's just the way it is. So this way, I guess everybody's happy. We had about an hour and 40 minutes, hour 35 minutes, I suppose, of no spoilers discussion for the most part. I know I let slip at some points, obviously, or gave some hints. But, now we can have 20 minutes to get the spoilers discussion out of the way and then just call it. All right. It's time. I'm going to just pin this message as well. Yeah. Hold on. Give me a second. All right. 1052 spoilers are being discussed. All right, everybody. It's over. Wano's over. 7 days have passed. There were no Marines lurking around the corner. Kaido and Big Mom didn't get back up. In fact, the world government decided they decided that, hey, someone kept the borders closed, so in fact, we're not sending anybody over there. That doesn't even make sense to me. So their initial plan was, okay, if Kaido and Big Mom go down, then we'll have these ships that are lurking near the island go in there, right? Nowhere in that plan was it stated, like, okay, if Kaido and Big Mom go down and they open the borders, then we'll have ships go in. What the fuck? How does that even make sense? So, like, because Momo didn't open... Like, wait, I'm just confused. I'm confused as fuck. I'm confused as fuck. Hold on. Let me catch these supers. Felix C says, how do you feel about the Hawkins prediction now? Okay, hold on. Wait, actually, let me give you guys full disclosure. I have a teensy bit more knowledge of spoilers than you guys. Because, a teensy bit more information on spoilers than you guys, just because I've spoken to TCB. So I'm going to just quickly skim the spoilers that are on Reddit and make sure that I don't spoil anything that you guys don't know. Yeah, Zunisha left because the borders are closed. What the fuck does it even mean that the borders are closed? How are the borders going to be opened? Zunisha left because the borders are closed. Hawkins reveals that it talked to Dre. Okay, so you guys have this. Hawkins' situation is just bizarre to me because it's like the way he was speaking with Killer did not in any way seem to suggest that he believed anything less than that they're going to win. Nicholas Sealstern says, Green Bull will knock down the Big Mom Pirates next. Green Bull will knock down the Big Mom Pirates next. Sure, maybe. Green Bull is coming. 7 days later. Drek the Drek says, I think both Yamato and Carrot need to join. Luffy the Liberator needs to represent each oppressed race. Fisherman, Minks, and Oni. Giants and Tatada are in the Grand Fleet. King is too loyal to Kaido. I don't know if Luffy needs to unite all the races on his ship. I think that's like something totally random. Eatham says, I still have hope for your theory. I still think Big Mom is coming to Wano. Thanks, Eatums. Going back to 2017. Caleb James says, Morge. From what I've seen in previous arcs, especially Enies Lobby, many plot threads were able to be resolved in a short time. Thoughts? Enies Lobby was mainly just the Usopp plot thread and the missing boat plot thread. Like, they need a new boat plot thread. The boat plot thread became very quickly apparent. Like, obviously Frankie's going to build them a boat because Frankie's quickly becoming a shipwright. So, like, that just made sense. And the Usopp plot thread, I think a lot of people initially expected that Usopp would just join back with the crew post Enies Lobby, but it turned out that we needed to wait a little bit and address that as well. The Only Beast says, Morge gatekeeping spoilers. I mean, they just wouldn't like it if I say anything extra. I'll say this, I don't think it's anything crazy major. It's not like, let's get this out of the way. No, Kaido doesn't fucking get back up, even in these extended version of the spoilers that I'm aware of, all right? Kaido's not getting back up in there. Derek Lux says, unless the spoilers were a joke. No, so TCB has confirmed to me that these are legitimate spoilers, all right? If that turns out to be incorrect, we can all take it up with them and be like, hey, this is wrong. Felix C says, border closed, understandable, have a nice day. Exactly. Weekly Shonen Punch says, what happened to the volcano? Where are Big Mom and Kaido, question mark. Zunisha just left, yes. Okay, let me answer your questions one at a time. Weekly Shonen Punch says, what happened to the volcano, question mark. It wasn't important. Where are Big Mom and Kaido? Doesn't matter. Zunisha just left. Yes. In the anime, Killer called Drake the 1% man. The anime is not canon. Let's get that very fucking clear. The anime is not canon. They don't know what the fuck is happening. They never did. The idea that the anime knows what happens well ahead of time has never been supported by anything. Ever. Alright? So, yes. This is just more information to add to the fact that the anime is not canon. Where are the Big Mom Pirates? Question mark. Oda forgot. Alright? Aztec Device says, hey, just got back, question mark. We're talking about spoilers, question mark. Yes. We're talking about spoilers for the next 15 minutes. LSD Van Zyl says, you're a clown. This is what I'm going to have to listen to forever. The original Luffy says, do you still think Green Bull and Zoro are connected? I think that that's still possible. But we'll find that out, I suppose, a chapter afterwards. Shinho Wong says, Lord Lol Morge anti-anime. Yeah. Ryan K says, I used to be pro-anime. Again, I grew up on the anime, same as the rest of you. That's where I developed my love for the series, but at a certain point I realized that it's best left behind. This is really interesting now. Okay, So 65% of you all had read the spoilers. 65% of you all had read the spoilers. My stream is about 1,800-ish. Right now we have 1,700 viewers still, which means a lot of you have not read the spoilers, but you're sticking around regardless just to see what's going on. That's interesting. Ryan K says, hey Morge, now that we're discussing spoilers, would you mind talking about the Zoro super chat that I sent before? I gotta find that Zoro super chat. Can you just comment it? And when somebody sees your comment, you don't have to super chat again, but when someone sees Ryan K's comment, can you all just like tell me what the comment was? So I can like just comment it again. The people will shout it out. I'll see it. Felix C says, my hope now is Green Bull will improve Zoro's arc. I mean, maybe, man. Maybe. Dante says it went down to 1,600 before going back up. Oh, so I guess a lot of people kind of saw like 1052 discussion. That's interesting. B Money says Oda is rushing. I personally never believed that Oda is rushing, but it's possible you could make that argument. Red X says, I'm utterly shocked at how many plots Oda just flat out ignored. You and me both, man. I know how much we shared the same opinion on many things, and I know how much you discussed certain things that I fully agreed with, but it was not to be. It was not to be. Thomas Cass says, Morge, the truth behind Hawkins' 1% is so BS to me. I mean, I go back and look at the killer chapter, I'm just like, this is bizarre, it doesn't make sense, like the entire interaction they had, but I don't know. The FPS Kings Gaming says, Morge, what's your Momo theory? The bold one that hinged on the raid failing. So, it actually no longer hinges on the raid failing. So this is cool. The Momo theory can still happen. And actually, maybe I'll put that out maybe after 1052. Because I think it's a really cool theory. I think the Momo theory is pretty cool. I thought it hinged on the raid failing, but the way things played out, I realized it actually doesn't. So I think it's a pretty cool theory. I'll put it out then. Redx says, Oda not even going to offer an explanation for the Beast Pirates. It's been 7 days and they weren't captured, arrested. They were defeated, so the story's just going to pretend that they no longer exist. I mean, I don't know. Like, maybe they were thrown into Wano jail or something like that. God knows Wano has jails. Maybe they're in Udon right now. ASM Money 13 says, will Ashra and Izzo stay dead? Let me confirm that this is in the spoilers that you guys have. Yeah. I guess so, man. The deaths are the most... I don't even know what's the most bizarre thing about 1052 to me. The deaths... Because it's like Oda wrote death scenes, like Kinemon, Kiku, like characters that we believe died, right? He wrote some death scenes. Then he said, no, those guys weren't dead. Then characters that nobody fucking thought were dead, like Izzo. Who had Izzo as dead on their bingo card? Izzo... Ashra, everyone was like, Ashra's coming back at some point, obviously. He's like, yeah, but those guys actually died. I'm like, what the? So why? What is this? What's going on? Ono Jagrawal says, Kaido, 1 week. Better be playing, bro. We'll forgive you as long as you deliver the crushing defeat and get the people of Wano off their ass and fight. Dude, it's been a week. I can't. I've got nothing to say. Aztec Device says, hey, now that we're talking spoilers, how does One Piece end? Thanks in advance. I think I'm running out of patience. Happy Morge Day. Proud of you. Now you're a full raid succeeder. Yeah, I've switched sides 100%. You know what? Raid succeeded. Let's go. The raid succeeded. They did it. They liberated Wano. Let's go. GK says, I'm sure he has a plan, or he is lowering our expectations for the ending, lol. I don't know. So the last two questions are about One Piece's ending. I would love to believe that Oda has a really great, really dramatic, really shocking, bold plan for the final saga and war, etc. But I'm just not going to personally be banking on anything from here on. Angel says, Yamato will not join unless she gets rid of being Odin. Odin is Momo's father, not a random she met in one night. Hashtag Yamato Straw Hat. I mean, look, at this point, I agree with you. But at this point, who's to say? Thomas Cass says 1984 Morge has always said it'd succeed. That's right. I don't actually remember my initial stance. Did I say it would succeed or what do you guys remember? I feel like I've been saying it would succeed for a long time. Do you guys remember that? Who remembers that? Who remember? I barely even know. I was always a raid supporter. Can we get some Morge raid succeed in the chat? Sharka says Morge sounding pretty salty. You know the reason for that, Sharka? Because okay, actually I think salt is not the right word. It's like maybe it's flabbergasted. Maybe it's flabbergasted. Salt is like, I'll feel salty when I'm like PayPaling Eric Turlato $1,000 later today. That's when I'll feel salty. I'll feel salty when I'm like having to shout out Grandline and Sensei in my following videos. Right now, it's more like flabbergasted, shocked, surprised, all of those type of words. And also just like, what the hell's even going on from here on? That's basically where I'm at. Future Mech says, Dr. Michael Morgius, it truly is Morgan time. Now that 1052 spoilers are out, you must literally enter the story as a villain. I don't know if that's allowed. Aztec Device says, Morge quoting Kinemon, fake it till you make it. Felix C says, not mad, just disappointed. I think I'm somewhere in that range right now. Salt, you kind of have to have like more like there's like, this is more like me personally being sad. This is not the moment where I'm like, fuck, like the what do you call it? The raid succeeding versus raid failing train sort of situation. I'll feel salt if I'm on like Twitter later and people are like taking shots at me or like, you know, that sort of thing. This is more of like me just getting off like my purely feelings on the story sort of thing. Taha Rana says, thoughts on Oda off-screening the Dawn. I mean, do we even know that from the spoilers? Like maybe we get, because it says like the beginning of the chapter, it's called New Morning, right? Beginning of the chapter, it seems as though it's during the present day / night, right? So maybe we get a dawn during that period of time and then it's 7 days later. I don't know. David says, a lot of mangaka keep fumbling their arcs, man. I just need Fujimoto back. I pray to God that Fujimoto comes back with a clean plan of the direction that this his story is going. Because I've got a lot of faith in him, but like, been down this road many times. Celicia Kinlo says, if Brook can be a perv, Yamato can be Odin. Those are two different discussions in my opinion. Felix C says, Morge is straight up Speckeldorfed. Yeah, I guess that's along the lines of how I'm feeling. Anime Dimension says, can you make a bounty video before next chapter? I think, here's the thing. Everyone's gonna make a fucking bounty video as soon as this drops. Everyone's gonna make a fucking bounty video. I won't lie. That's what I have lined up next in theory. Not for tomorrow's video. Tomorrow's video is actually a very good video. Like, I'm not saying that just to say that. Tomorrow's video was accidentally a really good video because it was one of those videos that I had a lot of ideas for. I started writing it. As I'm writing it, I'm realizing more and more things. I'm going back and rereading. I'm like, okay, this is actually really, really cool. Look forward to tomorrow's video. I think it's a really, really interesting one. Next video will very, very possibly be Bounty's video just because I think everyone and their mother is going to be jumping on the Bounty prediction train. Maybe I'll do something just to be different. I don't know. I made my prediction for what Luffy's bounty will be way back. And interestingly enough, that theory actually might be right. Because I predicted Luffy will have like a 5 billion berry bounty. Which at the time everyone was like, no way, that's BS, that's impossible. Because at that time, taking down Kaido and Big Mom, that was believed to be like a group effort. Nobody saw all this crazy new stuff with like Luffy fighting Kaido 1v1, beating him 1v1, awakening this legendary fruit that the entire world government is terrified of. His crew is literally like low diffed the Beast Pirates, you know? He's got so many territories under his control. So I think I might have been right to be more generous in guessing Luffy's bounty towards the earlier phases of the arc compared to a lot of other people who were betting more in like, I think like the 2K to 3K range. Scholar H says, what if Kaido and Big Mom raided the post-arc banquet? I mean, it'd be bizarre. I'm not going to pretend I'm even like pretending I think that could happen. One Piece Blaze says, people still believe in ZKK. I feel for the ZKKers. Damone Nickerson says, now that it's succeeded, how do you plan to address the community? I was with you till the end. Love your stuff. I mean, I'm going to do a full, like, retrospective on Wano. I want to do two things. One is, like, a pure Wano arc analysis. So, like, that's, like, just going to be me stepping out. That's purely breaking down themes, character arcs, stuff that did happen, etc. The one that probably comes before that is my whole feelings on the arc. Long video, basically, like, so my personal feelings, I guess you could say review, but also talking about the raid feeling aspects, things that I was hoping would be elements of the story that weren't elements of the story, and kind of breaking down my thoughts over the course of the entire arc. Hold on. One sec. SS says, did you cry after seeing the spoilers? All right. If you guys want to know my thought process over time. So for me, it's like, how do I explain this? Okay, so I've got like my dog, right? So this is actually the perfect analogy. My dog, very, very, very old. He just turned 15, actually. He just turned 15. Very old. If like 3 years ago, you know, I was living with my dog and everything like that, if he had ran out into the road and got hit by a bus and just died, I would have been devastated. Tears, depression, blah, 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 whatever. My dog is 15 now. I haven't seen him in a while because he stayed, not regularly I'm not seeing him because he's with my parents in my hometown, right? But I did fly back, saw him recently or whatever. He's kind of a shell of himself. And like the time before I saw that, it was even worse. Like he's mostly blind now. He has very little like cognitive awareness, things like that. Okay, he's on his last legs. All right. So because that's the situation, right? Like I don't think he's gonna die tomorrow. But if he did die tomorrow, I'm not gonna be as sad because like mentally I'm already kind of there, right? Like mentally I'm like, okay, I know I've made my peace with blah blah blah. So to bring that around to the raid failing situation, it's one of those things where I've been prepared for like either way. Like, I still strongly believed in the raid failing 2 chapters ago. I still believed last chapter, but last chapter was, I think last chapter is what kind of, like, made me feel like, okay, wait, this isn't right. This feels more conclusive than anything that was happening previously. So last chapter was the first time I was kind of like, okay, now I'm uncertain, but I still believe. But I had, like, a full week, 2 weeks, basically, to, like, mentally be like, okay, it's possible that this is the end. So then when I'm reading the spoilers for this chapter, I'm already kind of like on the fence. So I've already kind of like mentally accepted the possibility that the raid doesn't fail. So maybe the dog analogy wasn't the best thing in the world, but the point being, like, when you can already feel something like is a little off for a bit, then it's like less devastating if something bad happens. Versus if it was out the blue, then it's like way worse. So for me, if you go to 1049, I'm like confident raid will fail. 1050, confident raid will fail. I was like max confidence probably around then. 1051 was the first chapter I was like, oh, I don't know. Now I don't know. So then I've got like plenty of time to think, and I'm like evaluating all the possibilities. I'm like, you know, it might be it. It could be it. It could be it, or whatever. And then 1051. Sorry, that's the chapter, right? Then 1052, like the chapter with Momonosuke's reveal and everything like that. That's the chapter that like really threw me because I'm like, whatever. And that also happened to be the chapter I said would be the cutoff point for the theory. 1052 spoilers. That's just you know, killed the theory, but I was already basically from 1051 like trending in that direction. Like, yeah, I could see myself just being completely wrong at this point. Unrivaled says the spoilers are so stupid they seem fake, lol. Look, as far as I know, TCB confirmed them to me, so I think they're real. GK says, if Kaido and Big Mom are just dead and out of the story, I will start thinking someone is impersonating Oda. I mean, I don't know if they're dead, man. Thomas Cass says Denji finding... Look, I can't read your thing out loud because it's got Chainsaw Man spoilers. Zolden says, do you still think we're getting 5 acts? No. Damon Nickerson says, now that it's succeeded, how do you play? No, we covered this. Unajoggable says, Miss Super Chat from Sheesh. If Kaido gets up and wins, super unlikely, with 1 week time skip, is it still the raid feel because it's not the raid anymore if he wins, right? That's really complicated. I'd have to see if, like, that's just like, it that makes so little sense. It's just not even worth discussing to me. It's not even worth discussing to me. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be like, oh, I was definitely right. Like, it's just not even worth discussing. You know what I mean? It would mean that technically they did fail to liberate. I don't know. It's just not worth discussing in my opinion. Aztec Device says, who is Sogeking? ? Young Dai Lee says, do you think GB will grow back Wano's vegetation? Oh, that's a cool idea. I think that's a great idea if Green Bull grew back Wano's vegetation. I think that'd be great, actually. That's actually a really good call. You should go post that on Reddit or something like that. That's a great idea. Taylor Russell says, Bud, when the salty stuff comes flowing in, remember that your theory was not just baseless nonsense. You had compelling reason after compelling reason for it to be that way. It made sense. It wasn't Ghost Piece, LMAO. Look, I appreciate that quite a bit. You You saying that is very nice. At the same time, like, it's basically just like, I know my reasoning was good for the most part. Not even good. Like, I generally do think that I had very good reasoning for the most part. But at the same time, like, if people didn't get behind that and they viewed it as bad reasoning, or like they just didn't want to listen, then they're not necessarily going to start listening now to like try and find out why I was thinking the way I was thinking. So it's like, I'll just have to deal with it, but it is what it is. No, we covered this, right, Anuj? Yeah. Damon Nickerson says, to your knowledge, can you think of another YouTuber's theory that was as controversial that they stuck with till the end? No, but I also am like not that in touch with like other... I didn't even watch the One Piece community till I started making One Piece videos. I didn't watch One Piece other community members, period. Once I started making One Piece videos, then I started watching like Tekking, a bit of Roger, a little bit of Brago and stuff like that. But for the most part, I was like forget like other series in general. I wasn't even watching like One Piece videos on YouTube before this. So I've got like no comparable example. Nathan H says, do you think Green Bull's arrival has the potential to prolong the arc? That and the vagueness of the Yonko's fate got me on copium life support right now. Look, man, it's been 7 days, all right? You guys want to hear one thing, which is like literally the only thing I can think of? I mean, I'll share it here, but like it's just because we're just spitballing things. There's literally only one thing that could make this not what it is. The only thing would be like, not like a dream, obviously, because that's not like a real thing. Like, I can't imagine Oda doing that, like, oh, it's a dream or whatever. If this is like someone's future sight or some shit. If it's like 1053 comes around and it's like Kaido is just using his future sight or something like that, and he's just like unconscious under the magma and like seeing into the future what happens to Wano. That's not going to happen though. So at this point, it's just like, there's no way. It's 7 days. It's 7 days. There's nothing logically that would suggest that this conflict would like just have a random 7-day break that takes place in one chapter and then shit starts up again. That's just bizarre. So like, you know, worse series do things like, oh, it was a dream, we just woke up from a dream, or things like that. One Piece, you could maybe argue future sight if you really, really wanted to try and like scrape your brain and try and think of something, but like the chances of that are basically zero. Like, it's it. Why are you guys talking about Arcane here? Yeah, a dream sequence type thing. There's nothing. Like, it's been 7 days. There's nothing. Thomas Cass says, don't want to be a prick, but Arlong Park's greater than Wano. Yeah, I mean, I would agree for myself. For myself, I would definitely agree. Lee P says, maybe Vegapunk has Big Mom and Kaido, that's why they left. / Kid and Law's Alliance and Luffy new Yonko cruise. I don't even understand this. How would Vegapunk have gotten them? Miss Super from Edwin Rodriguez, with Yamato already being treated as a crew member in 1052, do you think she's still staying? If so, what would make her to stay? I mean, at this point, like, I could say on one hand, like, I think Yamato is, like, absolutely nothing that would make sense for her to be written as a crew member. But at the same time, if Oda just wants to shove her in, then he's just going to shove her in, and it's not going to matter. Edward Roman says, it could be the Yonko were taken by Big Mom's crew and have been healing somewhere off screen. It's just like... it's just like... Okay, if the Yonko were taken by Big Mom's crew and have been healing somewhere off screen, but the momentum of the story is so far off from, like, a reversal at this point, it's like... It would be so strange. Like, they come back, they fight them again now. Even I can't get my mind behind that. Damon Nickerson says, so is that it for Kaido's backstory? I mean, I guess so. Unless we get like a full Rocks backstory and Kaido features in it, then we get to find out a little bit more. You know? Chinho Wong says, shocking, no break after 1052. Yeah, I don't know. Yasha of the Flame says Luffy got up 9,000 times, but Kaido could not get up in 7 days. This feels so whack to me. I mean, it's just like, you know how it is with villains. Once like Oda has a villain defeated, he's just like, okay, the villain's defeated. Thomas Cass says maybe Zoro got lost and wandered to a false reality. I don't know. Yeah. All right, guys. I think the stream is getting fairly negative, I suppose, but that was just what was naturally going to come out of these spoilers. Yeah, I think I'll call the stream in the next 5 minutes. So let's say no more supers, but yeah, I think this is where we're at. Son of Q says that's what you're vouching for essentially with the raid field theory that many people didn't subscribe to, that they will fight again later. Yeah, but it's just like at this point from the spoilers it sounds like Wano's like it's in like good shape. Like if you're going to have them win a battle then lose a battle then win, like having them go through all the motions of victory for 7 days and then have them lose again, it just doesn't make sense to me. Free Spirit says, didn't Frankie say he was going to create a weapon that will kill Kaido? I mean, like, at this point, it's just like you can read every chapter to find something. That's like probably on the much lower end of things that I think people would be bummed about, I suppose. Son of Q says, just turn into Dritz already, why pretend? I mean, because I still love One Piece. It's just like, I don't like this arc, but I'm also still going to... These are just my feelings right now, right? I've just read the spoilers. I haven't read the chapter. I need to reread all of Wano, see how I feel at the end of that. That's why I've been trying, probably really poorly over the course of this stream, trying not to give, like, not to be too, like, critical or harsh, but, like, at this point, since we're talking about the spoilers and stuff, like, it's just coming out. Because, like, I'm only human. I can't talk for, like, 2 hours about something that I didn't like and not let that seep out at certain points, right? But at the same time, I know that I'm not going to put out any full form like video or anything like that, or like review, analysis, etc. I'm not going to do anything like actually constructed and produced and scripted or whatever until I've reread the full arc, fresh mind, fresh perspective, and tried to read it again from the perspective that like, okay, maybe there is more value to this, etc. William Marshall says, it's so weird to me that Oda's final scene of Wano, the one he's wanted to draw for a long time, was Luffy's big punch, something he made fun of. You guys aren't helping either, with 80-90% of the comments basically egging me on like this. Anime Dimension says, anime director said about Big Bad after Kaido in Wano. But then, like, why after a week? And I don't even know if that's what that guy was referring to necessarily, you know? Mariko says, why did this become a spoiler stream, lol? It just did because too many people were talking about the spoilers initially. I had seen the spoilers, so it's like I couldn't even pretend I hadn't seen the spoilers. So we did most of the stream without spoilers, and then, like, you know, we're getting in a 30-minute segment at the end. All right, I'm going to answer one more question. No super chats or anything like that. Oh, shoot, and I got a phone call coming in. I'm going to answer one more question. Let me see if there's a good question. Yeah, this whole, like, the other problem is that my viewer base as well, for the most part, shares my same opinions, I guess, on, like, what we tend to like and dislike. Shocker. So, it's also, like, if I stream, it gets difficult for me to not spiral into something a bit more negative and critical about the arc, because that's what you guys want to talk about. So, I've tried to be like, I don't know. Yeah. But then, obviously, there's the counter argument, which is that, like, maybe I influenced you guys to dislike the arc, which I don't get behind, because that puts way too much of a burden of responsibility on me, and I don't want that, which is obviously, what a surprise. But I also still think that, like, I highly doubt that I have the ability to influence whether you like an entire arc or not. So, you know. We're getting some Mamour A asking, good question, hair for teeth. All right, Brian saying, thank God Hunter x Hunter is back. Honestly, I'm so down. I've never been a huge Hunter x Hunter person, but like at this moment in time, I would love to go back, reread Hunter x Hunter. Looking forward to the next chapters, all that stuff. All right. I'm going to answer one more question. Dante saying, I still think Wano's going to be 5X. I don't know. Alex Dallas says, nah, there's a legitimate reason to dislike the arc. I mean, I believe so, but it's just like it gets muddied so much with, you know, what I stand for, etc. Felix C says, I blame you, Morge. Fair. Thanks, Felix. Alfred Letts says, I think Elbath will be great. I mean, I can only hope. I hope so. Where are we at? Nobody's got a question. People are just like, it's Morgan time. Okay, Alfred Lett says, what are you looking forward to the most in Elbaf? I'll say I'm looking forward the most to Usopp getting some really good character stuff because Usopp was robbed of that here. That's all for that. Yeah, and I'll talk to you all. Maybe I do a Thursday chapter stream. I kind of got to figure it out, but we'll see. All right, I'll talk to you all later. Peace.